What's up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Best Bets for UFC Fight Night Hyung Park versus Tetsura Taira. I'll be discussing my most confident picks, my lock of the week, my underdog of the week, some honorable mentions, and some parlays that I like. I'm recording this on a Wednesday morning. I just had a workout today at around 6 a.m., feeling flat out amazing. I hope you are too. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're having a great day. And let's get into it. Starting with the most confident picks, you see them on the screen. Rinya Nakamura, Austin Bashi, Rafael, Esteban, and Esteban Ribovics. Let me discuss each and every one of them. Starting out with Rinya, I'm picking him as the most confident pick because of his strong and powerful wrestling pedigree. Nathan, he's a decent wrestler as well. Nathan has good striking, but I see this mostly as a battle of wanting to get control on the ground and in the clinch. And I think Nakamura is going to outpace him, and that his wrestling is going to be overwhelming for Nathan in this matchup. I just think Rinya is coming into this fight with a chip on his shoulder, and I believe he's going to have one of the best performances of his life here. His most recent loss to Muin Gafarov, the guy who just beat him, he isn't a bad fighter, and I think Rinya underestimated his striking. And when Rinya and Nathan Fletcher match up, it's a perfect stylistic matchup for Rinya Nakamura. And I say that because Nathan isn't going to back him up against the fence with his boxing pressure, or he isn't going to outstrike Nakamura's. Nathan's known for his grappling, and that's exactly what Rinya wants because he's so dominant in the grappling. I think that we're going to see Rinya reverse positions in the clinch and land the better shots on the feet. If the last fight of Rinya Nakamura is all that you've seen of him, then you don't understand how good his striking actually is. And yeah, he had a bad night against a decent fighter in his last fight, but if you go back and watch some of his other fights, you'll see he has really nice striking, really nice timing. He has great power, and he was finishing everyone on his way into the UFC. His first three fights in the UFC as well, won them very dominantly, and I think he should be a confident pick in this matchup. Moving on to Austin Bashi. He's only 23 years old. He has so much potential to grow, and he's faced a very seasoned fighter in his UFC debut. Came up short, gave him his first loss, but he still showed grit and perseverance in that matchup, kept going for takedowns, and against his new opponent here in Yannis, his name is, this guy is nowhere near the level that Austin Bashi is at, and especially in the wrestling. So it's Giannis's UFC debut, and there's not much to hype up about him. He's pretty much just a regular fighter, and he has no UFC experience. Obviously, his takedown defense isn't at all where it needs to be for this fight, and I can see Bashi just ragdolling him uh, throughout the fight. I can see Austin Bashi getting a submission here because Bashi, he has elite wrestling, and especially when he's fighting guys that aren't UFC level, like Giannis. Giannis has zero submission wins on his record. He won't look good on the ground, and he has been submitted before. And I just think Bashi, he's gonna have an easy fight here. So, yeah, he's 5'6" with a reach about 70 inches. So he's compact and he's technical, and he's effective at driving in with takedowns, and he has great potential or positional control when he does uh get you down on the mat. So he should be a confident pick here. Moving on to the next fighter, Esteban Ribovics. He's a boxing heavy uh style of fighter. He puts nice pressure on you, and he's able to maintain the pace throughout all three rounds. He has good grappling as well. He's facing Elvis Brener, who he hasn't looked good at all in his uh fights in the UFC. And yeah, he is fighting really good competition, but they're just not impressive performances in those fights. And he doesn't have any, excuse me, he doesn't have any meaningful victories, right? So Ribovics, he has both striking volume and takedowns in his arsenal. He's gonna put up a pace that Elvis won't be able to keep up with, and he's a technical striker. And Elvis is gonna have to either be the first person ever to finish Ribovics in a fight, which is very unlikely to happen, or he's going to have to win a decision. And that's also very unlikely because by the time the fight ends, Ribovics would have already landed enough heavy shots throughout the fight to give him the win. So I can't see a path for victory for Elvis Brener in this fight. Maybe a quick, slick submission from Elvis, but I think Ribovics is too high level for that on to when facing someone on Elvis's Brener level. So moving on to my final most confident pick, Rafael Estevan. I've been calling this guy the Hispanic Habib. He has jiu-jitsu tatted on his chest. He's undefeated. He's just dominant in his performances in the UFC. He just fought this year already and he looked good. And he's been consistent in his performances. He's submitting grapplers. He puts on a nice pace. He's gonna get the takedown on Felipe Bunes. And he's relentless. Even when you stuff his takedowns, he's right back onto another one. That's exactly what you want to see in a fighter, one who doesn't give up when their takedowns are stuffed. So he's also very rounded. He's an undefeated prospect against a less seasoned and inconsistent opponent. I think he has an easy night in the office here. So that sums it up for my most confident picks. Moving on to the lock of the week. Lock of the week, Kevin Vallejos. This guy is on a mission to get his Gene Silva rematch, and they're giving him an opponent with a last name Silva. This is not going to be a good night for Danny Silva. Kevin, he's just a raw knockout finisher. He has 8 first round finishes. His mindset is to get you out of there as quickly as possible, but very precisely at the same time. He has a heavy switch stance boxing style coming at you with so much aggression. He's super clean with his strikes, his boxing and head movement and timing. It's so high level, and he's mixing it up too in his shots. He's mixing it shots into the body. He then goes for the head. He's just so overwhelming. He throws so many different strikes all at once, and he's a hard person to figure out and to deal with. So it's just like the way he moves, the way he manages distance, the way he strikes. It's just beautiful to watch. It's really like art. So I see him landing big, powerful shots early and often in this fight. And you can say, yeah, Danny Silva, he's good, right? But he's decent, but there's without a doubt going to be a speed difference here, a power difference here, a durability difference. Plus, we've seen Kevin fight the way he fights for more than just one round. So we know he has cardio. He's a complete fighter. It's not a matter of if he lands his shots. It's going to be when will he land that big knockout shot? Because he's going to land early and often, but which one is going to put him out, put Danny Silva out, is the question, because he can out volume you and he can outpower you. And that's not a fun person to deal with, right? He's a fast finisher. He's facing a delicate, tactical fighter, Danny Silva, barely winning his fights. And if you're not dominating your fights coming into a matchup like this, you're going to get ran over. Kevin Vallejos, he just has a high ceiling potential. I think he's the future of the UFC. That's why I'm making him lock of the week. And I see him getting a rematch with Gene Silva in the near future. Moving on to Underdog of the week. Underdog of the week is Nick Klein. When I saw him as an underdog, I was actually kind of shocked because I made my last video thinking he was going to be the favorite because I didn't know the odds. And then the odds came out after I published the video and found out he was an underdog, and I instantly knew he was underdog of the week. And ever since, look, he was always going to be underdog of the week as soon as I found out he was an underdog. But now I've been seeing the shape he's in for this fight, and he looks like a superhero. This dude is in phenomenal shape, which makes me even way more confident in him. Klein, he has solid wrestling fundamentals. He has strong defense in wrestling as well, and he offers consistent takedown offense, which can deal with Pulayev's length advantage here. People are acting like Nick Klein is going to get picked apart from the outside in this matchup or something. Like, this guy Nick, he's a dog. His striking can be very overwhelming and also unpredicting as well. We all saw that spinning back fist that landed on and wobbled Mansour Malik in his last fight. So yeah, he did get finished in the next round, but he looked good up until that sequence that finished him. He showed finishing instincts, he put the pressure on. And Klein, he does have finishing instincts, and he's very patient even when he does go to decision. He's not just rushing in to get a finish. If he doesn't see, he will do it if he sees an opportunity, but he's patient when he does go to distance, when there isn't a finishing opportunity, right? So in this fight, or even in this fight, yeah, if it hits the ground, Klein, I feel he'll be in cruise control the whole time. His ground game allows him to make submission threats, which makes him unpredictable and dangerous beyond just his striking. He can neutralize Puliyev's striking with his wrestling. He showed grit and resilience in his last fight against a tough opponent. I think he is going to look good. As an underdog, I see there's value on him. Moving on to the next underdog of the week, honorable mention. This is just an honorable mention, not the official underdog of the week. But I like Chris Duncan in his matchup versus Mateusz Rebecki. I feel as though this guy, Chris Duncan, he's being so disrespected coming into this fight. I feel like everyone is just doubting that he will win, and I couldn't disagree more. I really like him as a fighter. I think he's a dog. I think he can hang in there and bring the fight to Mateusz Rebecki. And he has such killer instincts. As soon as he senses that he can finish you, he'll jump right onto it, either with a submission or a knockout. Look at the fight in the Contender Series that he had. You'll see that he's never out of a fight. He can flip the switch at any time, and I'm a huge fan of his. I've always have been. So this could be a biased pick, but I think he can actually get it done. Being the taller man by about 4 inches here, I think he can capitalize on that. And he fights well against pressure. He came through as a huge underdog in his last fight. I think any pressure coming towards his way with the wrestling of Rebecki, it won't scare him away or anything. So if Rebecki doesn't finish Chris Duncan, he can always be there for a chance to win or even dominate this fight. So Duncan right now, he's riding a two straight back-to-back submission win streak. He manages pressure well, and I wouldn't be surprised if he snatched up another guillotine here. So that was just an honorable mention. Moving on to the parlays. These are some of these parlays that I like a lot. I put them in order from probably safest to funnest, right? Starting off with the first one, the safety lock. It's as safe as you can get. You're putting Kevin Vallejos, the lock of the week, who I believe has the best chance of winning out of anyone on the card. Kevin Vallejos, pairing that up with Magny Zaleski dos Santos over 1.5. I feel like that's very safe. Of course, Kevin Vallejos, a powerful high volume striker with early knockout potential. He's facing Danny Silva, who's durable, but he lacks explosive power against Val- against the power that Vallejos is gonna bring. I just think Vallejos is a more complete and aggressive fighter, making him a reliable pick. There's gonna be a durability difference, and I don't think Danny Silva has faced anyone with the power from that Kevin holds, right? And talking about Magny and Zaleski, I'm not sure if everyone has the over 1.5, but if you want, you can go 2.5 because you'll get even better odds. And I think this fight goes the distance. So 1.5 is just beyond safe, right? So if you check every fight for both of these guys, whenever they are fighting someone that isn't so much younger and hungrier or so much more athletic than them, they go to distance. Like I said, over 1.5, it's beyond safe in my opinion. Both Magny and Zaleski, they're veterans who are going to are going to be technically striking in a measured pace. Magny's defensive style and Zaleski's cardio friendly game mean this fight is very likely to get past 1.5 rounds. And that's why I'm naming it the safety lock. But moving on to the ultimate lock, Kevin Vallejos and Esteban Ribovics, I didn't even realize people are making this parlay and they're calling it the Argentinian parlay because both are Argentinian. I've been seeing that like all over Instagram, but this is this week's ultimate lock. And I've had this as a lock for well over a week ago. So um about Kevin Vallejos, but Esteban Ribovics, he has excellent takedown defense in this matchup. He has striking volume. Brener, he's gonna be dangerous, but Ribovics has sharper hands and he can counter wrestle, which gives him a clear path to victory here. I just don't see a path for victory for his opponent, Elvis Brener. And you're pairing it up with Kevin Vallejos, who, he's favored for his knockout power and pressure. So that combines two fighters who have a strong stylistic matchup, and it just makes sense. Both fighters, they have high ceilings and both are the more skilled, well-rounded options in their matchups. So I'm calling this the ultimate lock, aka the Argentinian lock. Moving on to the affordable juice section. If you're not a fan of Kevin Vallejos for whatever reason, the odds are too high or he's still unproven, that's fine. Ribovic still brings reliable striking and he has solid cardio. I see him definitely winning this fight. And you're pairing it up with a reliable, steady over 1.5 with Magny and Zaleski. I think for the confidence I have in this parlay for the affordable juice, it matches up really nicely with the odds. Minus 130. That's like destined to hit. I can't see Esteban Ribovics uh losing his fight. Just his striking, he has solid cardio, and then you're pairing it up with the over 1.5 with Magny Zaleski. I think this fight is going to the decision. So yeah, over 1.5 beyond safe, adds stability, and since the fight style between the two, it definitely leans towards a decision. I think it's affordable, it's tasty juice. And moving on to the next parlay, the four-legger. It is a four-legger. Kevin, Esteban, Rafael, Nakamura. They're not always reliable, but I see every one of these guys having an upper hand in their stylistic matchup. And I didn't add Austin Bashi here because he didn't have a fight when I was making this. But if you do add him to the lineup, you're going up to around a plus 190 for a cool, exciting five-legger. So everyone should play their part. Everyone should get the win in their matchup. It's fun, it's exciting. Five-legger, four-legger. You're going well above like plus 170 odds in this matchup. So, or plus 150 odds. But yeah, if you do add Austin Bashi, that's plus 190. Uh, yeah. I'm calling the next one the easy workout parlay. Because the Klein fight, it could be a bit sweaty, but it'll be an easy sweat. Because I do see Nick Klein coming through. He's a live underdog with wrestling and submission threats. Pulayev, he's going to have good striking, but Klein, he has the tools to mix in grappling and he has stand up. He has efficient and effective stand up game, in my opinion. So you're adding it along with the lock of the week, a proven finisher with strong power. It should be an easy money, in my opinion. And for the last parlay, we got the underdog city. Nick Klein, well-rounded underdog, mixing striking and wrestling effectively. Duncan, he's known for his nasty submissions and durability. I do think he can win this fight. Two dogs with realistic paths to victory. If both hit, plus 600 is excellent value for these two. So that sums up the parlay section. Those are my best bets for this week's episode of Best Bets for this week's UFC card. I appreciate you watching. Let me know what you thought about my picks. But that's it for me. If you're gonna bet, make sure to do so responsibly. And unless you're a full-on degen, then do whatever you want. As always, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out. Peace.